And no. Casino all we do is put stuff on shelves. Also make people. That is easy. I feel like don't you go.
What do we think, Jeff? Are we all set? All right, guys, get your attention over here. We kind of have you situated this way so we can turn a little bit and not have to turn too much. The PA, of course, is more so that we can capture this through Jeff's video equipment and let those at home see tonight, whether they're watching it live or whether they get a chance to watch it later on. We wanted to have a chance to recognize our season, recognize our the high school career of our grade 12s, and have a chance to celebrate that and wrap it up a bit. Thanks for a number of you who brought in your jerseys. A couple of you still have to bring in your practice jerseys. You keep your warm-up top, but practice jerseys come in. So you can bring those into the office and they'll put them in my mailbox. Otherwise, in May, the hunt will start. We're really happy we had a chance to get together tonight. Coaches were remarking how different a year it was, and to have you guys together at one table eating and talking and fellowshipping is something we missed out this year, as everybody did. But it's nice that we were able to have something tonight to give you the opportunity to do that. For the last 30 years, we've had a boys basketball banquet right here in the cafeteria. And we would have parents here, B teams, junior B teams, junior teams, and we had a chance to celebrate our seasons and talk a little bit about each kid. So this will be our banquet tonight, and probably the only group to do it right now. Our players are fortunate to have 4 coaches to work with them. There's a lot of sometimes information that can come at one time, other times. In a game, you hear lots of little things throughout the game, which is really beneficial for you. And I'd like to thank all the 3 other coaches for their help this year. And they're going to say a few words about our season, and then we'll talk about our players individually. So first, Coach Schaffner.
Mr. Bauer. I just want to say it's been a pleasure and privilege to me to be associated with you guys this year and the past few years. And I really also appreciate the privilege of working with Coach Bauer and McDonald and Richardson. We've had to work hard to keep you guys charged up, and you certainly had a good year. You guys, I go back a ways here in the history of boys basketball at Middleton, and you guys, I think, are the foremost team that we've ever had in the history of the school. The first team played would have been 1951 probably, or 1950, something like that. That's a lot of years gone by, because you people have, through your efforts and your hard work and your working together, have won 3 consecutive regional championships and a provincial championship. For many, many years, there was no boys basketball banner for senior boys basketball in our gym, old gym or new gym. And you people have set a new standard of accomplishment in the history of the school. And by Jove, we've had some good teams in the past. We've had some girls senior basketball teams who have won provincials, and a lot of them compliments or to the credit of Mr. Bauer, who has coached those teams. But this is the first boys. And so I've been giving a lot of thought to how it happened that we did this. I don't think it's because the competition was any weaker. I think it's because you guys had something in particular special. And it was the way we had a good, strong senior cohort in the team, but also good service from the grade 11s and 10s. And good balance in respect to front court, that would be your post players, and your guards. Everybody contributed. You worked hard together, you worked together, and you had some resilience that when you were down, you were able to pick it up. When we needed a defensive stop, you guys could somehow bring that on and hold the other team from getting a basket when it was really important. And when we needed a hoop, a number of you guys, either you get a putback, one of our big guys would get a rebound and put it back up and in, or we get an outside shot, just enough to put the dagger in the other team. You were very faithful in your practices, you worked hard, and I congratulate you on your accomplishment. And look forward to next year when we will all have a bullseye on our back when we go on the court for a game. Thanks a lot, guys. It's been a great experience to be with you.
Mr. Schaffner would have been part of and certainly seen more senior boys basketball being played here in Middleton than anybody else ever. And so when he speaks to the level of your play and the level of your accomplishments, it really is something to take to heart. Having played for Coach Schaffner, I know he's not always an easy guy to satisfy. So when he's happy, you've done something really well. Next up, Coach Richardson.
It's a pretty tough act to follow. I had a conversation with Mr. Schaffner before I had to write my speech, and it turns out he was already finished and was unavailable to help me write any of mine, so a little bit worried about my relationship with Mr. Schaffner currently. But still a tough act to follow. Pretty easy for me to sum up this season in two things. My favorite memory, obviously, winning regionals. My least favorite moment was about 10 minutes ago when I went to grab garlic fingers and there was none left. So pretty much sums up the season right there for me. But that's okay. No, and I won't steal anything that Mr. Schaffner said, but honestly, I have to commend 14, 15 young men who, came to basketball every day, probably questioning whether or not they would have the ability to come the next day. COVID was always on the back of everyone's minds. So every time we came to basketball, we were asking ourselves, would we be able to play the next day? Or, the next day would come and then we would wonder, and the day after, would we get to play again? So I'd have to commend you that, if I was your age, I would have struggled with that, and that wouldn't have been very good. So you guys handled it very well. You were all respectful. You managed things better than I could have possibly imagined with masks and not knowing the future every single day. So that's pretty cool. And I also, like I did in the locker room, I thank you for allowing me to come on. You guys have been together since you were young kids. So I appreciate your willingness to allow me to come on and take my semi-serious approach to basketball in life. So thank you for that. And of course, I have a speech that I prepared alone for later. So I will share that with you. All right. Thank you.
Coach McDonald.
That's all I have for this.
My friends. 31. Was it 31 guys tried out for this team? 31. I know Paul was only here for 3 regional championships. I was here for 4. Anybody else? Oh yeah, 4 in a row. It doesn't happen very often. I figured out how many years I've been coaching, and then I'd forgotten again. So it's 32 or 33, coaching boys basketball. And this is the first time I've been part of a group that's won so much consecutively. It's very cool. Thank you very much for letting me be a part of it. Basketball is pretty special to me, as it is to a lot of people, but if you've been on my team, as far as I'm concerned, you're my friend until one of us leaves this earth, okay? A friend of mine named Joey Dober, I coached him when he was in grade 7 right through till he graduated high school. One game he got 65 points in one game in a different province. And I can remember the day I turned 40 years old, he bugged me. This year, Joey Dober turned 40 years old, and I got a chance to pay him back on Facebook in front of hundreds of other people. He is just one of the many that follows you every season on that Facebook page. Just one of hundreds. I didn't bug him hard because he's my friend, but I let him know I remembered. Joey's got a kid now. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's more than just a game for me. It's we're now all in the same basketball family, as far as I'm concerned. If you ever need a reference for a job, don't hesitate to call or text me or find me. I'm easy to find. If you ever find you're in a place that you don't really want to be in, and yet you don't know who to ask to help get you out, look me up. I'll help you get out. Okay? I hope you're never there, but if you are, I will help. Thanks for letting me be a part of this team.
As Coach McDonald said, we had an awful lot of players come out for tryouts this year, and that was great. You know, we were in the 30s, and we haven't had that, I would say, ever. I think Coach Schaffner would say we had more kids come out to tryouts than we've ever had before. And not knowing what the season was going to look like, but knowing that it was going to look quite different somehow, made it very challenging for us to come up with the formation of our team. You know, our goal is always to play as well as we can play, but we knew we were going to have far fewer games. So how do we justify taking a lot of kids and making them work really hard in practice, but not having a whole lot of time to give them? So we really went around and we talked a lot about what we should do, and we ended up with 16 players, 3 of which were reserves. And we crossed our fingers and hoped that we could get a couple of games for the reserves, and we sure did. We got a couple of games with Bridgetown. So we were thankful to do that. We knew that being part of the program and being part of the experience, but especially the practices, would go a long way to developing these guys. And if you're a basketball player in Middleton, you know, we want you on a team. So we had to find a way to make that work. And given the fact we only had 19 games, and, you know, the games were all over the map, meaning, you know, you have a weaker opponent, and then you've got a very strong opponent for, you know, 4 games, and then you've got your playoff games. It meant, you know, we had some crunch games that we had to pull off. And so it made it difficult sometimes to work in players as much as we wanted to. But that's just the way the season went. You know, we didn't have our tournaments to work in some extra bodies and to work on some things. But one thing we tend to be able to do is we tend to be pretty good at knowing what we need to do for our team to be successful at the end of the season. We're able to look at you, go through the first month, size you up, know what our strength is, and get ready to play. You know, there are all kinds of times we're playing Horton, and I hear, you know, I can just tell that people are saying, why don't you go man, why don't you go man, why don't you go man? Are we going to go man last season of the game? Probably not. Or of the year? Probably not. Our zone moved as well as any zone has ever moved, you know, in Division II basketball.
Yes, sir.
Right? We move our feet, and if we fight the urge to react to certain circumstances that don't mean anything, then we're not developing like we need to. But when we move our feet and we stop penetration and we close out high, imagine, we talked about that all year long, that makes a difference. And when we needed for that to happen, that happened, right? When the season started, I don't think any of us knew what to expect. And that uncertainty continued right through for the whole season. To schedule was a nightmare. My scheduling is usually done in November. My scheduling this year was done in April. And it kind of mushroomed. Every week you were getting changes, different times for games, different practice times, all those things. And you did a great job of keeping those things in check, and you knew what you had to do and when you had to do it. But we had stops and starts, looking at our record. We played our first game on November 14th. We played our second game on January 30th. That's 10 weeks between your first and second game. When you get your sheet and you see our record and you compare it to the last 2 years, you will see that February and March, we played a lot more games than we have every other year. So we had to we wanted to play. We had to get as many games in as we can. Not being able to play outside our region, not being able to play in tournaments, and then finding out later in the season that we weren't going to be able to compete in provincials means that we had to change our focus. And through all of this, all of you worked hard in practices and in games, and you maintained your focus. The fact that there were times that, through work and injuries and sickness, we might have 11 or 12 of 16 show up. That meant that we could work on things 5-on-5 because we had 11 or 12. And that means all 16 of you really played a part in us achieving our goal and playing as well as we could play at the end of the year. Our focus changed from winning a provincial championship to a regional championship. We didn't like it. We just kind of, the big word, we pivoted and prepared ourselves as best we can to be in that last game of the year. And in that last game of the year, we played one of our best games, of course, and that was defeating Neckick 69-61 to win the regional championship for the third time in a row. And for our grade, this group also in grade 9 won our school's only junior high boys regional championship. So then to follow that up with 3 regional championships, that's not easy. You go through that and you do that, that's not easy. You go into other gyms and you look up at their banners, you're not going to see 3 consecutive regional championships in high school, right? So that was really, really something for you guys to cherish and hold on to. In a very weird year, I'd like to thank the parents for their patience and their support. A big thank you to Jeff Wenzel for all his work streaming our games. Woo! Our parents weren't allowed in gyms, so Jeff brought our games to them. And to our parents, but beyond our parents, to your siblings, your grandparents, your friends, and our fans.
Coach, there were people in Victoria, British Columbia watching these guys.
There's not a lot of groups that are going to have people follow them as they come up through the years. This is a group that Middleton is a basketball town. There are people who will be in those stands for 20, 30, 40 years. They missed that opportunity, but Jeff did provide them with an option and a chance to watch. And there's a tremendous amount of work that goes on. It's not just being right here, and there's a lot of work and there's a lot of frustration. And Jeff really took the bull by the horns and did a great job. Jeff, on behalf of the team and the parents, I'd like to present you with a token of our appreciation. we're gonna break up the, our talks about players, and to start with, I've got Coach Richardson and Coach Schaffner, who are gonna talk about our grade tens. Where they are.
Alright. Try to get my way through the speech. I'm still a little bit sour here from the lack of garlic fingers, but despite my emotions, I'll try to be sincere. Would obviously like to start by thanking the other coaches for allowing me to come on board. Couldn't have been easy. And have a chance to coach, and obviously thank the parents and guardians for allowing me to have a chance to work with these young men, especially during this difficult year. It has certainly been an experience I won't soon forget, not only because of our accomplishments, but certainly to have a chance to coach during the pandemic, the starting, the stopping, and the constant wondering what tomorrow may bring. Hopefully that'll be the first and last time I have to worry about that, but who knows. I want to thank Mr. Bauer and the other coaches for allowing me to speak a little bit about a couple of guys that I'm meeting for the first time this year. So first, I want to acknowledge the challenge of being in grade 10 and playing on a senior team, especially a team that seems to be dominated more by seniors. Jump from junior to senior basketball can be very challenging, but honestly, Connor and Noah seem to fit in very well. Noah has natural talent and ability, and arguably has one of the most natural shooting abilities in our program, especially someone who has still years to develop. Noah, when given the opportunity in games, has made the best of those by doing his job or role and doing it very well. Noah was also a multi-sport athlete, and I felt that during the season, Noah always gave 110%, even though likely it may not have been his first practice or game that day. I also want to acknowledge Noah because he is an amazing stat keeper during many of our games and assisted us in being able to look back at games and see how each individual player went, how their game went, and where we needed to focus our attention on as coaches. So I really appreciate that, Noah. You did a fantastic job. Connor also has natural talent and is very gifted athletically. Connor may honestly have the ability to outjump anyone on any given day, and likely given the opportunity, will try to dunk on someone on one of the side hoops while on a water break. Connor, as I said, similar to Noah, when given the opportunity in games, has certainly made the best of those and has exceeded my expectations when given the time. Connor, like Noah, was a multi-sport athlete, and like I said earlier, was most likely his second or third time participating in some activity while we were asking these young guys to give their best to us later on in the day. I also want to acknowledge that with these young men, the future of the Monarch program is in great hands. In the future, they will be called to be leaders in our program. And I will say, if that's the case, then we are in pretty good shape. So thank you very much for everything you've given to the team.
I'm going to take our other grade 10s one at a time here. Okay. Tyler, among you ballers here right now, and not counting actual game minutes, Tyler could be the one with the most, what do they call it now? We used to call it the most miles, the most kilometers on the basketball court, lengthwise, and the playground over the past couple of years. He's one of the most memorial cases I can recall of a kid who, at a certain point, discovered an interest and the desire to play this marvelous game and pursued the goal despite some setbacks and disappointments along the way. To my knowledge, at least it was my observation, that he caught the bug of playing hoops in grade 8 as one of a bunch of schoolyard players here at the school. It was, I think, 2 years ago, and they were out there playing pickup, sometimes before school in the morning and always at recess and over noon, invariably. A year ago in grade 9, he tried out for the Junior A Monarchs, but didn't make the cut. but showed up for Sunday ball all that winter, and undaunted, tried out for this team last fall, and has been with us this season on our practice squad. At practices, you see Tyler always busy, making good use of the time, conscientiously working on things that are being taught by the coaches, and in live ball play, he's conspicuous as a capable garbage man with his quick, onto the floor, under the boards grabs, and nifty, sometimes hard to believe, putbacks. His enthusiasm for ball this past regular season saw him doing 2-a-days on Sundays. And Tyler was of service in our games, of course, as an important and faithful stats recorder, and in whatever other jobs needed doing on the side. Good-natured, sometimes a little goofy, and the author of sometimes strange questions, as a player with much promise, Tyler is a Monarchs baller on the rise. Good job, Tyler. And our final grade 10 kid is Damian Coleman. Damian showed himself in line this season to be one of the upcoming postmen or forward spots for 2022 next season. He's a businesslike guy on the floor, practice floor, game floor. He practices and plays kind of expressionless, not giving away his attitude or intention. But hidden beneath is an increasing set of skills, and he has an underlying competitive fire. I noted that he's always in workmanship mode. Before practice and pauses between practice segments, he's always out there working on something specific. You could see a conscientiousness of what he was practicing, putting something into it, something more than mindless repetitions. In games, Damian showed a knack of being what I call in the flow. He gave the team a stable, reliable inside player, a thinker, and unflustered in the warfare. The mayhem under the hoop among 6 or 7 guys trying to snare a rebound. All told, Damian put in a solid body of work in a promising first year in senior ball, and we will be seeing more of him for sure next year and the years to come. Good job, Damian.
All right, I'm just gonna ask these guys to come up. We have a little brochure, and rather than normally we would shake hands, I'm just gonna pass that out to you. This just has some clippings and pictures and things from this year. Connor? Damien? Tyler?
Let's go!
Noah?
Yes, sir!
Now I've got Mr. McDonald to give some remarks about our grade 11.
Believe it or not, no matter what color hair I appear to have, I was once in grade 11. That's all I'm gonna say on that topic. I have chosen not to go into individuals. Say something about all 7 of you. 7. I'm gonna talk to you as a group, okay? We all have roles, right? We've talked about the roles on a team. We've all heard this before, like my role as an assistant coach. Sometimes your role is to play a lot, and sometimes it's to support the team in other ways, right? Alex, George, Damian, Giro, as I was corrected on the first practice of the year. I have not forgotten. Rob, Dan, Hayden, and John. After today, your roles change. They do. There's 7 of us. One of my favorite movies ever as a kid was watching The Magnificent Seven. And then they remade it again. It was even better. Magnificent Seven. Are you guys all thinking of playing next year? Magnificent Seven. We all want to thank you for the role that you played this season. Okay, sometimes it wasn't easy, right? Sometimes it wasn't easy. Sometimes it's not easy watching a floor full of grade 12s and you're only getting a couple minutes in the game. Sometimes it's not easy. I know that. Your time's coming real quick. Why am I reading this? Who knows, eh? This team right here, right now, will always be this team. But after today, the new team starts. It really does. It starts tomorrow. 21-22 season. Oh, this was good, this line. I can't remember. I can't forget this one. But your rules are all going to change if you choose. Remember what I told you all in the change room before the regional championship this year and the game when last year the provincials, both our ancestors and the 2 choices, right? Well, you don't want to hear it again, do you? You don't need to.
I think we already know.
You got it? You have 2 choices to make before next season. You have an opportunity to play a different role next season. It's your choice. This summer you can choose to stay up all night and sleep all day. Your role probably won't change a lot. Or during the day, you can get on that bike and get your butt down to the courts. Take a plastic milk jug full of water, because I don't know what they got to drink down there. And if you're not working, shoot some hoops. It's a good chance to work on that jab step, some stutter steps, some offensive moves, right? So it's an opportunity to travel a little bit, to stuff somebody, and not have somebody say, hey, don't do it that way. No, it's a chance to be you on a basketball court without a coach telling you what to do. You can work on all those offensive moves. Dribble, single shots, no-look passes. They're fun, huh? They work. So it's up to you. Magnificent Seven, put your hands up. I want to see who you are. I want to see where you are. It's up to you guys. Change your role. Because the 12s are gone. And I've never had a 5th banner in a row. I'd really like to be part of it. Get out there and practice. Thank you very much, grade 11s, for being who you are, and I'm looking forward to next October. Come ready. I'll hand these out too, all right? Alex. Thank you. George. I don't know what's in these. Damien Carroll. Rob. Oh, what's his brother's name? Dan. Oh, nice left kid. Hey. And John Tillman, come on down.
We always knew going to be coming into the season that we were going to rely on our 12s an awful lot this year, and we did. But there were oftentimes throughout that we would get excited about our group of grade 10s and 11s, whether it was in a practice or a game. Sometimes coaches would find themselves talking about next year, and we are very enthusiastic about the group of players that we have both in grade 10 and 11. One thing about basketball, it's our season happens in the winter, so we got to play it indoors, and it's practice and it's games. But one thing that we also know is that players are made in the off season. Anybody that's any good has put in an awful lot of time on their own, developing their ball handling skills, developing their shots, playing some one-on-one, some two-on-two, all those different things. And you've got an opportunity this summer to get better in a lot of ways and do that, and some people find it easier to work on things that they can do well. Other people know that they need to focus a little bit more on things that they don't do well. But for all of you, come back a better player next year and make sure you can make foul shots. Now, our group of grade 12s is a special group for sure. They started playing minor basketball as little boys together at a very young age with a large group of friends. From that large group, there are 5 that remain, and what a run they've had. In grade 9, as grade 9s, they traveled to Prince Edward Island, played in a tournament there that we won, to the point where they had to stop putting the score up until the other team could score a few points, and that was in the championship game. We spent an extra night and went to the East League Center and saw an NBL game in Charlottetown. Things that other teams don't always have a chance to do. In grade 10, we had a year where it was fully expecting to be a learning year, but they exceeded expectations, won regionals, and had a very strong showing at provincials. Grade 11 was really an incredible year. So thankful that we were able to get to the Cold Bowl that year. But we played a game at Neckett that was shown on Eastlink, so that's something that we'll always have. Of course, we played in the coveted Cold Bowl and had just an incredible experience that week. Won regionals and won our school's first senior boys basketball provincial championship, first. And that really says something. In their graduating year, they persevered all the different changes throughout all the seasons to win their 4th consecutive regional championship. Really, really great memories. And some of the things that'll stick with you, when we talk, what are the 2 things that we need in championship basketball? Free throws and turnovers. All right. And look at the other day. We're playing Neckett. We did not turn the ball over much, and we made free throws. Right. So, those are all parts of the things, but there's a lot of things that you learn throughout that will come back to you from time to time. Now, for 3 years, we've had some of the best post play of any teams in the province. And I don't care what division it is, our posts have footwork that are better than almost any post you're gonna see around the province. We put some time in, but they put time in. And this player was a really big part of our dominant post play. An accomplished rebounder, we could always rely on him to do his job at both ends of the floor. When we needed a big bucket, we could count on a post move, an offensive rebound, or foul shots. Many teams simply didn't have an answer for him. His defense improved each year, and his shooting ability is as good as anyone on the team. Big Rig Noah Bzanski. This was our other post player in our post tandem, and he's a bit undersized to play the post, but as we've told him often this year, he's a load. He can go to the hoop with force and can finish in different ways with either hand. One of our more complete players. He can play the post, he can rebound, shoot, run the floor, drive to the hoop with gusto. Many players found our post tandem very, very difficult to play. They could concentrate on one, but they couldn't handle both. When this guy's playing well, he has the ability to take over a game. Keaton Muse. Throughout his high school career, this player was asked to play everywhere. We started him in the post, played a couple of little minutes at point in grade 10, and this year we settled on playing him out on the wing. His grade 11 year was shortened when he broke a wrist in our opening tournament. It took a while to get back healthy. But his defense improved in leaps and bounds this year. Whether it was playing down low or at the top of our zone, this player could move his feet and he could use his length to give opposing teams problems. He can finish to the hoop at breakneck speed and had some of our finest finishers at the rim this year. Whatever we asked him to do, he stepped up and gave us 100%. Evan Nodler. Our next grade 12 really upped the speed at which he played the game, and his athleticism shone through. He had some of the most impressive finishes to the hoop of any of our players, and his defense reached another level this year. When his defense was dialed in, our zone was impenetrable. In our biggest game of the season, this player stepped up and had his best game of his high school career. I lit up with joy seeing him shoot the ball the way we knew he could shoot. After some frustrating games this year, he persevered and had his best game when we needed it most. Keegan Nielsen. Our last player was a different person this year. Finally free from ankle injuries, which plagued him his first 2 years, he could move and jump like he could remember, and we knew that he could. Called upon to lead our offense, he initiated fast breaks, which allowed us to score in transition on a regular basis. Oftentimes we see the guys finishing the pass, finishing the score, but we don't realize the rebound, the outlet, and the long pass that went before that, right? Coaches see that, and you guys see that, but we had great passes down the floor to set up those finishes. His leadership was evident in yelling out our offensive sets and being an extra coach on the floor. He cared for his teammates, being one of the first to congratulate them when they made a nice play. This guy can do it all. A fierce rebounder, solid shooter, strong finisher, and team leader. He was our go-to guy, Adam Wenzel. thank you to everybody for joining us here today. Jeff for videoing this, and I hope that next year all those watching can join us in our gym and watch us inside in person next year. Take care and thank you.